Okay, so this is like a
So
crazy
let me tell
story.
y'all what
Let me
happened.
tell you guys what happened.
What happened?
So I had just finished recovering. I almost died having my last baby. So my baby was like 6 or 7 months, and Jacob decided to take me to Nick and Sam's because I told him I wanted like a really nice dinner. Like after being stuck at home and everything, bro, you get depressed. Like you want to be able to do something nice. So entonces fuimos to Nick and Sam's. And when I'm sitting there, we haven't even ordered. The moment we get in there, baby crying.
She was good. Like
she was good.
As soon as we like she was like even. I think she was even asleep. She wakes up
Crying
when we were ordering
right when
appetizers.
we're about to order. So then
We're like
I'm like embarrassed because this is a bougie place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, a lot of people go there that
That just have a bunch of money.
They're single or they got a bunch of money and
So I'm trying to feed her and she's screaming. She doesn't want that. She doesn't want anything. And people around us in the tables are just death staring at me like, you're crazy.
And then they're there
for
they're like
bringing
right here
your kids. Yeah, they're literally looking at me like, oh, you disgust me for bringing your kid. Like, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And Evelyn, for those y'all who don't know, when y'all show up with y'all's kids, they be showing up with a stroller, car seat.
They
No,
pull
but
up
we
with
didn't
everything.
have the stroller.
Oh,
we just had her.
But I was gonna say for context, so like that's probably another
for
reason why they're
context.
staring at y'all because you're
Oh.
coming in with all the accessories.
We
and like,
came with-
Usually,
we came
every
with the baby bag and the baby. I
okay.
left the car seat in the truck because because niggas it's always crowded. So that I also keep in mind that
I was like, she's gonna be good. She's asleep, and I'll just carry her, breastfeed her. She's good. She never acts up, but this is her first time going to a restaurant. So she starts screaming, crying, and bro, the food hasn't even come out, and I am holding back tears. I swear to you, holding back tears because I'm like, it's the first time.
Yeah.
Jaylene never did this. Like,
No, yeah,
like
that's true.
Jaylene would always.
Dang.
No, Jaylene never. She
Yeah.
would always so calm because we took her out way from the beginning. So I'm like, Jaylene would never do this, and like I felt like my life was over because I'm like, is she gonna act like this the whole time? And like me sentí so defeated. It was so hard because the people were staring. Jacob had to take her out like 2 or 3 times just to get her to calm down. So the food comes out and Jacob's like, let's just take this food to go. Imagine taking food, $280 in food to go.
Yeah.
So I'm
wild.
literally, it was
That's
the biggest flop ever.
And, going back a little bit, I tried to get you to eat while I had Jaylani in like I took her to the pasillo and and the back corner where nobody, and I was trying to put her back to sleep.
But I could hear her, so I'm like uncomfortable, and then the person over here was like, this is why you shouldn't have kids. Not to me, to their table.
Hear,
in their table, but again,
in their table, and I'm
saying,
like, my dude, you're like 60 years old. Trust me, nobody wants you to be their dad.
yeah.
Let's be so for real right now. And I was getting so heated, so angry, and it's overwhelming because I hadn't had to deal with that, So entonces, we leave, and I come home, and I feel so sad, and I'm like crying. So Jacob puts Jaylani to sleep, puts Jaylene to sleep, and he turns on kind of like this is the fireplace. He puts music, sets up the little table so we could have like a little romantic dinner because we couldn't have it at the restaurant. He's like, at least we get to have like a nice dinner here. And I was like bawling my eyes out because I'm like, I'm a new mom, a whole new mom and whatever. So again, bringing it back together. That was so discouraging, but like Jacob said, we have to keep taking them out or she's not going to learn that she has to act.
And that's the product of putting your spouse first.
Exactly, because he could have been like,
because if it was all about
this
the kids,
is why we
then
shouldn't
it's like,
go out.
We don't go out.
Exactly, this is why we don't go out. We're not going to go out anymore because of the kids, because the kid this and that. And then you don't care about me being depressed, being at home, not doing anything good.
No,
he completely misses that. And
Exactly. So then now we started taking them out, not to bougie places, but like regular restaurants.
A restaurant where you go and sit down, and I mean,
and the more you teach them, even Jacob bought me like stuff to teach her, like to have like little toys on the table that suction so she could get distracted, like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And now she's better at restaurants. Like now she'll sit down, she'll relax.
Obviously she's getting a little older, so it's also helping the fact that she understands certain things. And when it comes to eating, hey, we're
but
there,
it's a progress.
food.
Don't give up.
Yeah, don't
because you have kids.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, that's definitely important. It's not to give up. I mean, again, finding alternatives. Maybe not bougie restaurants, you know.
Yeah.
But restaurants where they have to learn to sit and wait for the waiter to come, bring your appetizers, bring your meal, and then, you know, sit there and enjoy the meal. And then when you're all done, then get up and leave.
So you don't miss out on life because you're a baby.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, don't
kids shouldn't hold
kids
you
as
back.
an excuse.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like, you know, I don't have kids, but like sometimes I feel like people do it on purpose, and then sometimes people do it like not on purpose, like
because they had such a bad experience, they don't want to be embarrassed
my kids, and like, you know, they mean well, but it's like it's affecting them more than like anything.
And you know what? Over time, your kids learn. Like you start teaching them, and now, even though Jaylani still acts up sometimes, but a lot of people always compliment us that, oh, your kids act well when you take them out. Because they're learning. And they'll get there. It's going to take you 10, 20 times.
That's why we want to be like you.
Bro, stop. Y'all are going to make me cry.
I don't know. After that experience, I don't think I would want to do it.
Exactly. I know, but you have to keep doing it because some kids are going to want to do that.
In the moment, it does suck. You know, I mean, obviously, it's not going to be like, it's fine, you know. No, it's going to take... effort,
emotionally, you're gonna feel sad.
Yeah, you're gonna struggle. I mean, in everything, but it's just
worth it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it definitely is worth it.
What is the this will be my concluding question.
Oh, we can. You have the questions here, right?
Oh no, he's gonna.
This is the last question. What is the biggest obstacle y'all have had to face as a couple, and how did y'all overcome that?
Hey, we're still in the hood, so we haven't overcome it.
Literally, we haven't overcome the biggest obstacle.
We're working on that.
Our biggest obstacle is still here.
We're currently work in progress. No.
You know what? Dang, that's a good one. Do you guys have one more?
We can start.
Okay, you guys start.
Which is what I stopped you on.
Wanted to do?
Yeah.
Well, which is what I stopped you on, remember?
Yeah.
So, or at least that's it for me. Would you agree?
I think so, yeah.
That's probably the biggest obstacle.
Yeah.
So last year, when Cecia was doing her residency, we were very distant from each other, like emotionally, and
physically, low key,
and physically, like literally.
We just slept on the.
You wasn't giving me nothing.
We just roommated basically for the year.
We were roommates for a year.
We were roommates that were having sex, basically. But so for that year. And it all happened very like naturally, like you don't realize it happens until like
unconsciously, not naturally, just unconsciously.
Well, I guess unconsciously it happens, and you don't realize it happens until the situation gets really bad.
Yeah,
right. So unconsciously, it just was happening as she was doing her residency. She was working a lot at the church, and she was going to school, doing homework, and just how it started was. You know, very innocently, like, hey, baby, like, you got to leave me alone. Like, I have homework to do, like, this and that. I'm like, oh, you know, my bad. Like, I'll go to the living room. And then, like, I'll just get distracted again. And, like, the next day, come and mess with her. Or, like, hey, watch this video. Like, I can't. I'm doing homework. I'm like, oh, okay. And then now I'm leaving. I'm going to the gym. You know, I'll go to the gym and I come back and then whatever. And then that turns into, like, 4 days out of the week, I'm gone until, like, 9 p.m., because in my head, like I need to help her, like concentrate,
give her her space,
give her space, give her break.
And it wasn't even just homework. It was like if I had a side gig because we needed money, I would go do it.
Oh yeah, and I was working a lot. Too,
yeah, or there was an event that I needed to be at, so I would be there. And so he was working a lot, I was working a lot, I was doing homework. Free time I did have, I was working to get some money.
Pretty much working, yeah. So I was working. So yeah, on top of like trying to give her her space, I was working like 3 or 4 jobs, and because when I say she was working, she wasn't getting paid. Like her compensation was like her school getting paid for. Yeah. Just for context. So I had to work a lot, and then I'm like, because like, to be fair, I am a very distracted person. Like I'll just forget that she's doing homework, and I want to bother her, or like, hey, like watch this TikTok or whatever. And so, that just turned into like almost like a year straight of just like being gone, like distant from each other, and it got to the point where. Do you want to take over? I feel like you tell the story better.
Why?
I don't know.
But I was having, not that I was having fun, but you've never said it.
You've never fun.
No, I'm not having fun. I was just like,
listening.
Wait, this is literally the biggest obstacle. Is the first time I hear him talk about it.
Yes, talk about it, and then you give us your perspective.
Why I'm like,
well, I think it was just that. Like we were just very distant from each other, like obviously like physically and emotionally, because I was working a lot and I was trying to provide like for like us and like, you know, paying bills and stuff like that. And she was also doing the same, and then going to school and working like for the church and stuff like that. And so it's because like I don't really know like when that
But I want to know how you felt. So this is how I. Oh my God!
I just don't know when the timeline was. I just don't know when the timeline. The reason why I'm hesitating is because I don't know when the exact timeline was.
I know
when we
exactly.
Had that conversation.
I know exactly what happened. So you know, at the church, they have foster camps.
Yes.
Oh.
We were at a foster camp, and I was actually a counselor, which meant I couldn't have my phone, because you just can't. And you get like 1 hour to like for yourself, like to shower, to use your phone, whatever. So I called Tony during that 1 hour, and he just didn't like answer. He just didn't care. Mind you, I hadn't talked to this man for like 3 days at all because I was at camps.
Yeah.
And it just like hurt me because I'm like, okay, this is the only 1 hour that I have to talk to you.
Yeah.
And he knew that, right? Like I had to hold him.
But you didn't tell me what time it was though. So
I
like,
did.
You
No,
did?
I did.
Oh.
But
You
it
should
just
have
goes,
been
it
at
just,
the phone.
No, but it just
Waiting the
goes
whole
back to like,
Yeah.
No.
But this was like
he
a
just
build
didn't
up.
care.
Yeah.
Right?
And you're
Because he was
emotionally
so
drained because you're
used
going
to-
through so much.
Well, yeah. And he was so used to just like literally like
Giving your space.
not
Or not-
talking,
yeah.
not
Yeah.
doing anything.
The fruit of it was
And so
giving
that-
her
that's
space,
when
which
I
I
had,
thought
like-
was
Yeah,
doing
giving the
good.
space. Yeah.
And I got so upset, and I was like, "Why don't you want to talk to me, dude?" It was like I was talking to like a stone wall,
Right.
like to a man that like didn't like love me or did not care for the least bit that I was gone,
Right.
right? So I remember coming back from that camp, and I was like, "What the heck?" You know, like what
Yeah.
has happened to my marriage? Like, it was literally the saddest thing. And I remember, like, it was me trying to talk to him and just him, like, being completely, like, not standoffish, but, like, you know how Tony is with people
Yeah.
that he doesn't know?
Yeah.
Just more like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
bien-
that.
bien-
And I'm like, what? Like, literally, I was so, like, what the heck is happening? And that's how he would, like, respond to me, like, did not care that if he talked to me or not, didn't care if he saw me or not, didn't really care about like to take out the dogs or not. Like he just literally wanted to do. And at this point, he had a lot of guy friends.
he was
that
like
were
back
single.
to his bachelor.
Yes.
Bachelor.
At
Bachelor
this point,
life.
he had a lot of guys that were single, and they would hang out. Not that they did bad stuff, but they would hang out all the time because throughout that whole year, he wasn't hanging out with me. He was hanging out with people. He was going out to the gym with his bros. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just hanging out with guys. And I was just like, it was almost like I would ask him, like, oh, can we do something? He's like, no, I'm going out with so-and-so. And so it was like, it was so weird. So I remember, I don't even remember how the conversation started, but it was in the summer, around June, July. And what was it? Did I ask you? Well, yes, I started the conversation obviously because he didn't care.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't care. It was just a
So what are your
development
thoughts?
of habits, of bad habits that like, you know, piled up. Because like in the beginning, like I said, we thought we were helping each other. Like I thought I was helping you by just being away.
In the beginning, you thought you were helping, but then afterwards, it became into.
It became a problem.
Yeah.
Like it became a problem. So
Because
it's
at the
not
end
that I
of the
didn't
day,
care.
yeah.
But it definitely came across that way.
So, but he
And I
didn't
think
know how to talk about it. He didn't
Yeah.
care to talk about it actually either. So I was like, what are questions? Like what I wanted to know what's going on in his head. What was the problem? How could we solve this? Right. So I remember asking him 2 specific questions. And I was like, or 1 specific question. No, I said, do you love me? And you're like, I think I do. He literally said that.
He said, I
think I do.
That would break
Oh my God.
I don't recall that.
Dude, I'm so. And
I feel like I
mind
erased
you,
that part.
hold on, mind
You're
you.
lucky she forgave you because I would choke you right now. Okay, continue.
I probably said it as a joke though.
No, but it's hard when you're going through it.
I had gone. At this point, he was so detached that I had to, before I even asked him these questions, I had to mentally tell myself, I cannot make an argument out of his questions. I can't because I already know he's so like, you know,
Yeah.
that at that point, I just wanted to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, give me your answers and I will deal with them later. Like, but I just need to know what's going on, right? So I had already, that's why I just let him talk. And that's it. And this man, I was like breaking down because I'm trying to have this like really hard emotional questions that I thought I would never even have to ask. And so then this man is just like stone faced. He's like, I think I do. And I was like, okay, like, but like, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? He's like, I don't know. And I was like,
because keep in mind, like we said, like we never would have this conversation unless something happened.
Exactly.
So like, even just the fact that this was happening was already like, what the heck? And then to talk about it was also like, what the heck? Like, how did we get here? You know? And then just to condense or consolidate the story a little bit, we basically got to the point of the conversation where it was like, are we even gonna stay married? Do we even?
Was it a question I asked, or did you just say I don't want to be married?
No, you like asked. You like I think you asked like do you? I think do you still want to be married or something like that? And I was just like, I don't know. Like I didn't know because we got so detached from what we thought was good, but because we were so separated. It was just like we were, like I said it as a joke, but it was true. We were like roommates,
right.
you know, and so
because the lack of intimacy drove you guys apart for a while. I mean, not like physical, but it could be emotional too. Right?
Yeah, so that was like a really, really like obviously tough time, and we obviously decided to stick it out, and then she quit the residency. Yeah. And then I was able to quit, you know, a couple of my side jobs because I was able to get hired somewhere else that paid more, and I was able to cut some of my side jobs.
So how did you decide? You were like, okay, we want to stay together. We have to change this, what did you?
We had the conversation, and then she said that she was going to quit the residency.
Well, I was just okay. So mind you, so we had that conversation. He was like, I don't know, but he said some words that I was just like, what? Because you were like, I don't think I ever wanted to get married, but he wasn't even saying it like, I don't want to be with you. He was just saying it like, I just never wanted to be a married man. Yeah. Like, that's just not the lifestyle
After having your freedom for a while, you're like, okay, I wanna be more free.
I think, to be really honest, I think, maybe I need to go to therapy for this, but like, I think in the beginning, whenever I was like with like people or like dating, whatever, obviously Cecia was like the first one, like kind of like for her, like we were like the first for each other that was like really serious. Yeah. That I never got to experience like just being on my own as an adult. Yeah. So like I was an adult, but like I just didn't get to just be. Yeah. You know? Right. No, I'm not saying I was gonna wild out or like be a hoe or something. Like I just in general just be out when I want to go out or go to the gym when I want to go to the gym. Yeah. And not have to. So when that happened and we were really separate from each other, I was like,
you were really just doing your thing.
Is this how it's like when you're not married? Like you just doing go whatever, and you don't have to text nobody, hey, I'm out or anything like that. So then like at that point, I didn't say that in a way like I wanted to get divorced. I just kind of said it in a way of like thinking out loud, like, well, damn, like.
Yeah, like
what the heck, you know? Like,
but to us as women, because we're more emotional, I would say that's heartbreaking because you're like, damn. So you don't know if you wanted to be married. Yeah. You don't know if you love me. Like,
I did say I want to be like I want to be married, but maybe not at the time that we got married. Like maybe if we would have just stayed boyfriend or girlfriend for a while, and then like maybe engaged later, right, and then got married. Like that would have been cool. Like. I think that's what I said at that time. Because not that I never wanted to be married. Like, I wanted to be married. Yeah. But at that time, I was just like, maybe we did it too fast. Or maybe,
Yeah, but like I said, like, I knew there were going to be really questions to ask. And I didn't know what he was going to answer. And so I wasn't going to fight with him. Because that was probably going to, honestly, probably would have led to divorce. Like, me, like... getting upset at what he said to the questions I asked. Yeah. And so I was like, right? Like, then I was just like, okay, shoot. Like in my head. So then I asked, I think I said, where do we go from here? And you're like, I don't know. And then that's all I could, what do you do? What do you talk about? So then we were like, okay. I went on, I talked to like pastors and I was just like, I just made that decision. I was just like, I need to quit. Yeah. Like Like, I need to quit the residency. Getting my degree is fine and all. It's fun or whatever. But, like, my marriage comes first.
Right.
And so he didn't tell me to. We never even discussed it. I just said, this is what I'm going to do because I know that this is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And so I did it.
No, we did talk about it, though. And I said, you asked me.
But you didn't care. You're like, if you want to.
Because I was trying to be supportive. Because in the beginning, when she started it, she asked me. But she's like, I'm going to be without a job. And so I was like, yeah, we can do it. And obviously, at that point, it was really bad. But then when I was like, if you want to, it's because, like, I thought, like, in my head, I thought, like, if you want to, but, like, I'm supporting you, or I think I'm supporting you by wanting you to finish.
I know, but if you want to comes off as I'm not emotionally.
Yeah.
So
Carrie.
that's why I said I took that decision myself because I did bring it up to him like, oh, I think I might. He was like, if you want. So to me, I'm like, no, I'm going to. And so I don't think we ever really, after that, I was so hurt and I was trying to be like, what is going to happen?
Right.
We never revisited it again. We never said, these are the steps we're going to take to like figure out what our next step is. I think my specific, I was like, okay, I need to, what can I do? And for me, it was just being more present in my household.
Right.
And so that's what I did. I don't know if you did anything afterwards. I don't know. We never talked about it. Did you? I think.
Well, that's when I was actively looking for a job that paid more. So that I also didn't have to be working so much.
So
then I did find a job that pays more, where we were in a little bit better financial situation. So I was home a little bit more often because I would also like work throughout the week till like 9, 10.
Right.
Doing like Uber and stuff. And so I was able to be home at least throughout the week. And so that kind of, that helped a lot, obviously, too. And then
we just started doing things.
We started, doing things together and then just being more like intentional with each other. And then I also had to learn within myself, like marriage, like I already know this, but like just kind of like encouraging myself and reminding myself, like marriage is great. Like marriage is fun whenever you do work on it with your partner, whenever you do go through these like struggles and you overcome them together. Like it's like your marriage will flourish and you become best friends. And like obviously like we were best friends already, but like still being able to overcome that and then now work on new things together, like that's a whole another level of intimacy also that you're kind of like having to like navigate through. Like okay, like if we're gonna make this work, then I have to do my part, she has to do her part, and then we learn and grow together. So that's kind of like that was one of the difficult obstacles that we.
But I'm glad that you guys
we went through it, and it's crazy. No one knew that we were going through that.
Yeah.
No one.
Because at the end of the day, you kind of have to figure it out. Because if you involve everybody else, it would have been worse.
Well, the thing, people at my church kind of knew, but not to that extent.
Yeah.
I think one person knew because of that. It was at camp.
Where you felt,
and I was just, and it was pastor, and I was just like, I can't, and I wanted to break down so bad, but I was at camp, so I couldn't just go out by myself. So then, like, I was just like, I'm gonna ride on the golf cart. I rode with pastor, kind of like, I'm doing something.
A little distraction.
And so, to that extent, and then obviously I needed to talk to like directors and stuff at the residency because there had to be. Like, why I'm not just gonna drop out of nowhere. So I was just like, this is why I'm taking it for my family. I think people knew because everybody kept asking, because that was a big thing. Like, why are you dropping out of the residency? Like, why? And there had to be a logical reason. And I would just say, because this is what's best for my marriage, which implies, right, something's wrong. But you don't know the end.
But at the end of the day, I feel like those kind of things are beneficial for like young people who aren't married, who aren't like really, it's like a college time.
Yeah.
But like in a marriage, it does take more. It's emotionally, physically being present. And honestly, like I commend you for like even taking that decision because it's hard. She's putting aside her degree to be like, my marriage is more important than my degree. In the future, because she's like, okay, I value this that we have going on. So it's a hard decision to take because some people would be like, well, at the end of the day, if he leaves me, I have my degree, I can have a better job. Does that make sense? So she put your relationship in front of that, which I think is beautiful. And it does suck, but marriages do come like with sacrifices. And like with Jacob and I think that there's times where you like, example, there's been a couple of times in our life where you're like, oh, like is it even worth being married? Not like we've never had that conversation like we want to get a divorce. It's more like, sometimes you're dragging me. Like, it sounds bad, but like, I'm dragging because I feel like estamos estancados or something, right?
Yeah.
And then, but when you go through like something hard, kind of like me almost dying, and you see that this person is there with you and is caring for you, and you see that, imagine if you were going through these hard moments with somebody that with nobody. I would 10 times rather go through this with somebody that has loved me and has so many flaws, but in those moments, you're not thinking about their flaws.
Yeah.
You're thinking about how amazing this person has been. And, when I felt like I was losing my life, I was like, I wouldn't rather have a dad for my kids that wasn't Jacob, Because I always see it like this, like, we're both not perfect, right? But at the end of the day, our marriage is worth that. Because at the end of the day, when you get stuck and you're like, oh, I hate that this person isn't emotionally available, or I hate that this person isn't doing this, you're so stuck on the bad stuff that you forget all of the good that they do, or all of the good that they do bring. Yeah, your liberty is good because you can get up and go, but who is there to like hear you out? Do your friends sit down and listen to you, all of your deepest, darkest secrets that this person does know, that would accept you with all of that your friends, they're not going to do that. They got a boyfriend or girlfriend, they're gone.
Yeah.
So with us, like, I think we've had like multiple things, and I think in a relationship it's good to go through something so you can really build on your foundation.
Yeah.
But with us, like, I think there's been a couple times, starting from like with his family, I struggled a lot because I felt unwelcomed a lot of the times with his family, and he was emotionally unavailable at that moment for me. It was more like, I don't see your perspective of how they're treating you, so I can't set a foot down. So it felt to me like you don't care about my feelings. But to him, he didn't know how to see it. He didn't see it. He didn't also know how to address it.
Right.
Because emotionally, he was unavailable. Like, in that sense, it didn't process through him.
Right.
And I think that hurt me a lot because for a while it felt like I was second place.
Yeah,
Does
like
that make sense?
In the beginning of our marriage.
Yeah, to his family. Because there would be times that I would feel like I was going crazy with certain things, feeling like I'm getting gaslit with his family. And then when I would bring it up to him, he didn't know how to say no to them, or he didn't know how to set foot. So because of that, I was like, do you really like love me? Because if you did, you wouldn't allow them to treat me this way.
Did you ever like vocalize that to him?
It took a while, because in the beginning it was like a year and a half where yo me lo aguantaba because it's his family.
Yeah.
I don't want him to have issues with them, and I'm also scared because I don't want to make him feel bad. But it got to the point where it was too much that I would like break down, and I told him, I was like, hey, like, I'm struggling with this, you gotta do something. And I had to vocalize it multiple times, not just once. Sometimes you can't just shove it under the rug. You have to go back, even if it happened months ago, you have to go back and be like, we actually have to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because then over time it can get worse, even though you feel better for a couple months.
Yeah, because something could trigger it again, and then it comes back to be like, hey, well, we never addressed it initially. Like, we need to come back and like we need to actually address it. And again, that was probably one of the obstacles that it was definitely harder for Evelyn at the time, because again, for me, it was a lot of learning to be a more emotionally available partner for Evelyn, because again, for me, I was always just shutting down my emotions, bottling everything in, like not saying nothing, like just that's how I
like
resolve
an example
problems.
we would go and like his mom would hold his hand as they're walking, and he would leave me behind, And I'm like, I'm your wife, bro. I don't know nobody here. And he would just leave, and he didn't realize, because he was so used to his mom doing this kind of stuff. And they would go parade him in front of everybody, and I would just be behind. I would have to be like in a little corner, and it would feel so isolating that I'm like, am I gonna be like this with my kids? Like, am I gonna be like this like in the future? Is this gonna be all of my life? Am I not gonna have a place? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I would feel like at the defensive way, because sometimes they'll be like, well, let like, remember that time where they were like, why don't you let my mom take your daughter, which was Jaylene.
Oh yeah.
And I was going through postpartum depression, so they were like, why don't you let us take her? Like, you guys can go do this and let us take her. And I'm going through postpartum depression, and I'm like attached to this baby. Like, I want to protect her. I don't feel safe in the space, and they're wanting to take my baby. So it felt so like, oh my gosh, like crazy. And I'm like, are you gonna say something? Are you gonna, like, it feels so like scared. So then I was like, it's fine, like, I'm gonna take my daughter. And that's when I started putting my foot down, I'm gonna take my daughter. And it is what it is. Oh, but she's been a mom. She's raised all of us. She can take the baby. And then Jacob saw how I was, so he was like, it's fine, she'll come with us. But he would always try to smooth over it without offend feelings.
That was another thing, is like, I hate conflict in general, but like, especially like between family members and stuff like that, it was always hard for me to be like, yo, like, so I was always trying to be like the peacemaker, always trying to like beat around the bush, kind of like get away with not addressing things
but that was
directly,
hurting me.
But yes, and as a side product of that, I was basically brushing her off, and but again, it got to that point where I was like what's more important?
But that was what, like 4 or 5 years in.
Yeah, like it took a while.
This was like again, 2019 until he like went. I mean, he had already started setting certain boundaries. But it was 2019 where he was like, it stops here.
All right, like
and it was a situation that it was literally a whole family thing. Should I say it?
No.
For your life.
Yeah, going through that was hard.
Well, that was super hard, financially
and emotionally.
Emotionally, because you're fighting for your life, and you're feeling like you don't know if you're gonna make it the next day. Sorry, I get really emotional. And then to see him in the hospital and at the house caring for me, this is why I say it so strongly. Be careful who you have kids with and who you marry with. Because at the end of the day, will this person change your diaper if you need to?
Yeah.
Will this person be there for you when you have nothing? You know what I mean? And that's why I tell you, sometimes we value friendships and our freedom so much. You can't be free in your marriage, because these people, they ain't gonna be there for you. Because at the end of the day, like when I was almost dying, as much as I love you guys, I didn't call you guys. I had him. Yeah. He was the one there for me. So to see him, the way that he cared for me, the way that he treated me, like, you know how there's some dudes that be like, oh, I don't change diapers, that's my wife's job. I can barely get up. Imagine if a man told me, I'm not gonna change a diaper. I could barely hold my own daughter in the bathroom because I felt like I was blacking out. I had to hand her over to Jacob her first bath because I couldn't even stand up. That's how bad it was. And he took over that role. Imagine if I didn't have somebody who was supportive in those moments. So we've been through a lot of obstacles emotionally, physically. But I think that shows you, like, when you choose a partner for life, make sure that they have those qualities. And even if they don't, that they're willing to open up and they're willing to make the growth. Because it sucks, bro. Growing doesn't come easy.
No, it's definitely hard. Especially, like, somebody that's not used to, being a certain way, and like having to, like I said, having to evolve and change is and you know what, marriage.
Bringing what we're in, there was a time where we were like more distant because I was college, Jacob was working so much and stuff like that, and even then it was like 2 months. I don't know, you did it for a longer time than me. But 2 months, after those 2 months, I was like,
we were trying to thug it out, but
thug it out.
It didn't work.
But I feel you guys,
we were
because
trying to thug it out.
I literally told Jacob, like, what is the point of us like being married if we're like we're just like best, like roommates and together. You're just, but you have those moments in your life.
I'm like, Dad, I got a fine ass roommate.
Exactly. You have to actively make time for each other, and sometimes it's sacrificing.
Yeah.
And then I did have to get out of school too, for financial reasons, but that made a huge difference in our marriage too. Yeah. Because you do get busy with life.
I think the best, just to wrap up, but kind of go off of what y'all were saying about whenever you were in the hospital. Like, even though like my biological dad's not in my life, my stepdad has been a part of my life for a long time, since like the fourth, fifth grade, something like that. And when my mom got sick, when she got cancer, bro, like, it was just a wild time, because he already wakes up early. Yeah. Like, he's an early person. He wakes up at 5 every day. But whenever my mom had cancer and she was in the hospital, a lot of days and months and stuff like that. I don't know how he did it, bro. He'd wake up like at 4 instead of 5, cook breakfast, get the kids ready, take them to school, come back, go to work, go to the hospital after, take care of my mom, pick up the kids. And sometimes I don't like to talk about it sometimes, because I carry a lot of guilt. Yeah. Like self-guilt. Yeah. Like, no one put it on me, but I carry self-guilt, because I'm like, dang, like I could have done more. That's a whole nother podcast though. I'll start crying. But anyways, just to say, like, bro, like, my respect for you, bro, is like through the roof, because I saw my dad do it, and I saw how hard it was. And so even like that obstacle in and of itself, not knowing if your wife is going to make it, not knowing if my mom is going to make it, it's just, but still being there, like, still actively choosing that person, even though you're not really sure what's gonna happen, is like a true testament of, like, your spouse and your partner matters. Like, if you put God first, and you go through tough times, but like in those tough times, once you make it through, it's like something to look back on, like, damn, like, you be able to tell your kids, that one day, like, man, like, your dad, like,
and you see how much this was worth more than not having somebody at all to suffer with. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I'd rather go through this 10 times with Jacob than not have them there. Mm-hmm.
This is a crazy podcast.
I know. We went all over.
This mug is 2 hours. I might split it in 2.
We split it in 2
parts. I might split it part 1 and part 2. But man, I know we'll keep talking off camera, but I want to say thank y'all for doing this.
And thank you guys for being so vulnerable with us and having us here.
In your house, having us here
in my house with my real fireplace.
With the real fire.
We had Evelyn on our podcast in her house. Yeah.
With my mic.
With their mic. Her ring light, her cups. And she's thanking me.
As a matter of fact, they're moving in.
But no, it was good though. It was good, and I think we need to talk about it more, like just things in general, because especially like people like us, like younger and Hispanic and
a lot
Christian,
of people are willing to talk about it, because it's hard. It is hard. And it's scary like to be vulnerable to tell anybody about it.
That's what people feel like.
Yeah, people are like, so, I don't want to talk about it.
It's necessary. We should do it again.
Yes,
for sure.
We should do part 3 next time. Part 2 and part 3.
But hey, thank y'all. I'm gonna split this up because it was very long. Yeah. But it was great though. Thank y'all for listening. So like, subscribe, follow them, follow us.
Bye guys.
Bye.
Peace. See you guys later. Bye.
Peace.